Good evening, everyone. This is an entrance to Greenwood Cemetery. Founded in 1838, a National Historic Landmark. But we're not visiting Greenwood Cemetery today. In fact, it just closed for the day. It's 6 p.m. It's March 26, 2022. It was thunderstorming earlier today, but now, as you can see, it's only partly cloudy and in the low 50s or high 40s. So, we arrived here, which we'll see in a second, and if you saw already from the platform footage, at the 36th Street stop of the D, N, and R. This is infrared, and we're outside of Greenwood Cemetery so that you don't have to be. So if we're not visiting Greenwood Cemetery today and it's closed, what are we doing? Even if you haven't been to Greenwood, and you should if you haven't, because it's beautiful. It combines all the best elements of a park, a sculpture museum, famous people buried there. You have a grand time. But today we're going to look at what lies just outside of Greenwood. What lies just outside of the peaceful cemetery that's existed for over 180 years. So, as I said, we got off here at 36th Street stop on the D, N, and R, and considering it's adjacent to Greenwood, DNR. Do not resuscitate. Do not revive. Here's one of the few city DOT bike parking areas. It's small, but it has a current bicycle map. Current meaning a year old. They should be updating it any week now. We're at 4th Avenue and 36th. And we're walking east on 36th Street. We're walking uphill. This is kind of the northern boundary of the neighborhood called Sunset Park. And we're walking up the hill to 5th Avenue and 36th Street. And we see these row houses here. And again, in back of these row houses is a cemetery. The apartment buildings are becoming larger. Or newer. And this is a new elementary school under construction. It's March of 2022. And this is supposed to open, I think, September of 2023, so in about 18 months. Let's just get a look here. And every school construction project has its official signage. Okay. Now we're going to walk north on 5th Avenue just a bit so we can cross. Cross to the east side of 5th Avenue. We're now crossing over a roadway that's part of the cemetery here. So you can see the roadway going to 4th Avenue. You can see the large building with the yellow stripes in the background is Sunset Park High School. You can see it kind of surrounds much smaller apartment buildings that were originally occupying this block. The school is shaped the way it is because not everyone who owned on this block would sell to the city. And so this school construction authority, as it often does, has to design a school to fit a particular site. Now, that roadway was primarily a service entrance to Greenwood Cemetery. But let's take a look in here. bridge going over the cemetery service road. And as the sun begins to set on Greenwood Cemetery, let's just take a look here. All right. Peaceful. Picturesque, but what lies just outside its borders? Here's a view from across the street of the school under construction. It'll be good to give kindergarten through 5th graders this view of the cemetery. Sometimes when a new public school is opened, the school is named either after one of the themes of its curriculum or to honor someone critical to the Department of Education's past. So maybe they'll name this cemetery school. Here we have one corner of, well, we could tell you exactly what this is, except a critical piece of information is missing here. The logo, which is reproduced here in, I don't know, bronze. But this is the Jackie Gleason Depot, and you can see it was dedicated in June of '88, but I think it was actually built before that. I think it was in June of '88 that the depot was rededicated as the Jackie Gleason Depot, or depot. It was originally named the 5th Avenue Depot, which is what the predecessor bus depot on this site was named. The predecessor building pretty much took up the same footprint. But I think at the time was replaced. It could have been over 100 years old. The predecessor building was used to house streetcars. By the way, for those who would like to walk on a sidewalk adjacent to the cemetery, there is none here. This is just dirt, although it's dirt with a curb. So it's an interesting kind of sidewalk. So every once in a while we'll get a look inside Greenwood. Why did they name it the Jackie Gleason Depot? Because in The Honeymooners, Jackie Gleason drives the dust. It wasn't clear to me in The Honeymooners, I guess I'll have to watch it again, that he drove a bus in Brooklyn. I think he and Alice and Trixie and Ed were supposed to have lived in Bensonhurst, which is several miles from here. So, don't know. Is the honeymooners historically or technically correct? Well, why was a trolley barn built here in the first place over 100 years ago? Greenwood Cemetery, up until the beginning of the 20th century, was one of the most visited tourist attractions in New York State. I've read several times that its attendance was second only to Niagara Falls. Oh, this is interesting. Is this like a scarecrow? Let's see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see through it. A mannequin wearing a helmet and vest. So let's just look here at the Manhattan skyline. Get a little bit of a panorama. Anyway, with Greenwood being one of the most visited tourist attractions in the state, a lot of the streetcar lines converged on the cemetery, and they ended their routes at entrances to the cemetery. Because the streetcars required a lower vertical clearance than the buses that were being built in the early 1980s, this depot and the area that it served around here could not fit the new buses that were being manufactured in the early 80s. And so they had to build a new depot. I mean, they would have had to build a new depot anyway to replace a 100-year-old facility. The clearances were so low here that they weren't even high enough for the old fleet of buses with modern radio equipment mounted on the roof. So here we have the buses waiting to, they're being returned to the depot to be serviced and fueled for the night. This entire depot, all of the buses in here are fueled by CNG, compressed natural gas. If we had smell-o-vision on now, we would smell some gas right now. So I'm not going to light any matches or lighters around here. Here's the logo. That's an illuminated version of this. Should have been posted at the corner of the building when I said something's missing. Sometimes the buses get backed up. There's so many in the facility already that buses coming back may have to wait for their turn to enter. And wait, and wait, and wait. So, what is outside of the bus depot? Can we look through here? This is kind of now standard for New York City Transit's security fencing. It's chain link out, but a much smaller link. Hard to get the lens through. And I'm being told that focusing failed. But hopefully you can see, wow, besides this enormous compressed natural gas machinery. We have here some work trains, and we have track panels here, or actually this is third rail that's waiting to be installed. New third rail. Buses waiting to get in, waiting, and here's another one being added to the queue. Well, I guess this one will wait twice as long as an articulated bus. So the work trains, they do maintenance, they do replacement of track. Most of the work takes place overnight or on weekends. It is a weekend now, it's a Saturday, so most of the work trains should be out, well, working. And you can see in the back, there are some buses parked, and there is a set of newer train cars in back. Let's check those out. But here's a typical work train car. It's an old subway car from the late 1950s, and it was when it was retired from regular passenger service. It was gutted and painted yellow, and now it's used to provide part of the traction power to pull a work train. And here's the bus queue, getting longer. Okay, this is all new signage, a new gate, looks like mechanized gate, much more substantial than what was here before. It's pretty unambiguous. Here you see a yellow diesel locomotive. If you ride the trains late at night, sometimes you'll see work trains being pulled by diesel locomotives. Very unusual to see a diesel locomotive in the subway. There are some fire department regulations that restrict diesel locomotives from operating in tunnels in New York City. Now, looking across the street, let's get a look in Greenwood here. And according to this sign, we're at 7th Avenue. So, how long is 7th Avenue at this point? Okay, exactly one block. Another bus heading to the garage for the night. Another view. This is called the 36th Street Yard. Also the 36th Street Maintenance Yard. So there's another street name sign showing that the end of this portion of 7th Avenue. So we're at the corner of 7th Avenue and nowhere. But I think this is 37th Street that we're about to enter. Let's see if we can get a view of all the tracks. So we can see several work trains lined up in the yard. Work train's not working. Not today. And here we go. I think this trackage in here is new too. I don't recall this. I've run past here many, many times. And then, so you know it's still there, Greenwood is still across the street. So we see some materials stored there in the warehouse, in an outside warehouse. There's a nicely graffitied truck. There are actually several of them. Another look into Greenwood. We'll cross when it's safe. Yikes. So, also, I should just note, it'd be hard to climb over this fence if you could insert your fingers and toes into these little holes in the first place. Even if you get to the top, I think it would be difficult to get over. Why these trucks are lined up here, I don't know. All right, let's just get another look in here if we can. See some track rising from one level to another. This rail yard is here in part because back before the subway was constructed and there were only elevated lines serving this part of Brooklyn, including an elevated line on 5th Avenue, it terminated here at 36th Street, the end of the cemetery. So this used to be a rail storage and maintenance yard for a portion of the old Brooklyn elevated system. And then when the subway was built, the maintenance of the fleet, of the subway car fleet, was moved from here to places like Coney Island and 207th Street in Manhattan. Now, who do these trucks belong to? Is anyone in them? Are they just sleeping here? Are there cars not being transported because of this truck? This fencing, by the way, is also got a much more substantial foundation. You can see these big poles cemented into the ground. I guess they're serious about preventing people from, unauthorized people from entering the facility. That license plate on that car was said F-E-N-O-M, so I don't know if that was the owner's attempt to spell phenom, and the PH wasn't available, or trying to spell venom and the V wasn't available. All right. We're at an intersection, finally. (37th Street and 9th Avenue). And let's see if this car... Oh, that's... Okay. Give him half credit. So, here we have the garbage train, and let's see if we can get that in focus. Maybe not. The garbage train, well, it's got two subway cars on each end, and then two flatbed cars in between for carrying containers of trash that the train collects along by going from station to station. There are two trash trains at the platform. Here we have the 9th Avenue station on the D train. Here we have an artwork how long this has been here. I've never noticed it before. Christopher Russell, Bees for Sunset Park. And so there's the queen bee, and they're surrounded by very large representations of bees. Very large, scary representations of bees. So here's the 9th Avenue station on the D train. This was built maybe around 1915, but it was updated recently. And we are just going to enter and get a sense of it, including, unusually, a skylight. And notice the mosaic work on the walls. And then let's see if we can see one of the station's secrets from here. No. Oh. By the way, okay, we're going to take a little detour here. Oh, look, here's the bees part 2.
So cool.
There's more on the other side.
Is it brand new?
I've never seen it before.
It's the first time I've noticed it.
Yeah. It's kind of scary, but yeah.
It looks like giant flies.
There's another one on the other side.
Oh, I gotta go check that out.
Yeah. So, and here we have a very popular taco truck. Well, what's the secret about the station? Let's just see if we can see on the other side here of 9th Avenue. Okay. This may be as much as we're going to be able to see. But just below us is the platform for the D train, and you may see at the end of the platform tracks rising from a lower level. Oh, here we have an arriving D train headed to Coney Island. So in the olden days, that is until 1975, there was a platform on the lower level for the shuttle, the SS train, from shuttle between here, 9th Avenue, and Ditmas Avenue, where you could transfer to the F train. So it only made a couple stops in between. I think we're going to pass them. And that shuttle, as I said, was discontinued in 1975. But, and hold on, let's wait until this D train leaves. The shuttle was what remained of, oh, it says focusing failed. Trains taking a long time to leave for a station that has so few customers. Here we go. In a minute, actually we're going to be able, well, if we wait, the train will surface in the distance. It becomes elevated. But as I was saying, the shuttle train that was discontinued in 1975 was a remnant of a train that began here and went over now the elevated portion of the F train over McDonald Avenue and continued to Coney Island. And that connected in turn with, here's the garbage trains again. The train that originally passed through here, when it was an elevated train, could go from downtown Brooklyn along Flatbush Avenue down Fifth Avenue, and either end here or continue on the Culver line, what is now the F train, to Coney Island. Okay, let's get some looks at the garbage trains. And if you hear that, that's the sound of the D train. That's a D train actually headed into the 9th Avenue station, coming from Coney Island and headed to Manhattan. So, can we see? Okay. Well, that's it. Here we see some inventory of the yellow walkways that you see alongside the track on elevated sections of the subway. Here's another diesel locomotive out of service. Now, if you had a new car on order, wouldn't you be happy to know that it spent time overnight here on this truck? Whoops. It looks like someone's already had a turn at this car. Oh well. Buyer be informed. But again, why is it here overnight? Here's another entrance to the yard. Let's get another look at Greenwood. And a speed camera. Here's someone who's decided to camp out here, take their vacation here.
It just saves him like 5 minutes of work.
Even in this remote area, we can eavesdrop on people's conversations. So, if look at this ramp where these New York City Transit maintenance trucks are parked. That ramp, at one time until 1975, carried the SS, the shuttle, down to the lower level of the 9th Avenue station. And you can see how high that ramp rises. And we'll be able to see how abruptly it ends in a minute. Sorry, we shouldn't have ruined the surprise. That's it. Similar kind of fence at the end to keep trucks from driving off the ramp, but with the nice addition of razor ribbon. I never saw that before, and I didn't capture it on video. Actually, the bus that just passed had a destination sign that was in color, in red, blue, and yellow. It said, "I love New York," or, "I heart New York," the Milton Glaser design. So, that was the ramp that connected with an elevated line. The elevated structure is no longer here. And you can see a building has been built sometime in the last 47 years since this shuttle was abandoned. But there's still railroad tracks at ground level, and the track, the second track in, has third rail alongside it. So I think these tracks are still used to some degree for MTA maintenance purposes. Now we have graffiti. I think this is the first graffiti we've seen on this long stretch of fence. All right. And as you can see, we're approaching another intersection. They're few and far between, but now we're kind of back in Brooklyn, out of the cemetery area. Although again, here we are just across the street. Beautiful Greenwood. This is, I'm not sure whose responsibility it is to clean this. These houses across the street are along the former right-of-way of the SS shuttle. And there we go, with the view inside. Now, why is this area so dirty? It says, well, I don't know. This, I don't know about now, but in the last several years, and certainly pre-pandemic, this was a gathering place for day laborers who want to be hired for the day to do various maintenance and construction jobs. Let's take one last look at Greenwood. We're at the corner of 37th Street and Fort Hamilton Parkway. Greenwood has an entrance on Fort Hamilton Parkway. So here's Fort Hamilton Parkway. This sidewalk continues now uninterrupted until McDonald Avenue. So, we're away now from the transit facility. We saw the 36th Street Yard. We saw the Jackie Gleason Bus Depot. We saw the remnants of the SS 9th Avenue Ditmas shuttle. Look at an old subway map. Look at a subway map from the 60s or early 70s, and you'll see the SS. The shuttles in the 60s, the Times Square shuttle, the 9th Avenue Ditmas shuttle, the what doesn't exist anymore either, the Bowling Green South Ferry shuttle. That was a 2-car shuttle. And the Rockaway Park shuttle were all designated SS. The shuttles now, the remaining shuttles, are designated just S. That was a part of the change. In the mid-70s, New York City Transit went from double letters on some subway lines to all single letters. So any SS trains became S trains. Under the old system, when the shuttles were designated SS, well, here's a school bus. What does this tell us? We are on the border of the Borough Park neighborhood of Brooklyn. Borough Park being home to many Hasidic, not Lubavitchers, oh my goodness. Okay, someone fill in the blank for me. But a large Hasidic community. Satmar, thank you. So, we left Fort Hamilton Parkway. And by the way, what you saw briefly as we turned the corner onto Fort Hamilton, you saw a gas station, you saw a McDonald's. All the rest of Fort Hamilton Parkway going in that direction is like that. And I didn't see much point in filming it. There's a garden store. It's a very nice garden store. But the businesses along that stretch of Fort Hamilton Parkway, pretty much what you can see anywhere. So here, again, more buildings built on the right-of-way of the SS. But when the shuttles were designated SS, there was an S train S stood for special back then, a single S. And there was the Aqueduct Racetrack Special, the S train, that began at 42nd Street and 8th Avenue on a lower level that is not used anymore. And it would run mostly nonstop to Aqueduct Racetrack. Bing Crosby actually used to ride it. Anyway, that train was the S train. Now, well, here's interesting looking yard. Another building built on the right of way. Just look quickly. Look, the B-35. AJ Madison. We've bought some appliances there. Another bus from the neighborhood. All right. In case you need extra space. Tightly packed buses. Oh, let's see what this is. Work in progress. Educational, but yikes. the owner's Congregation Beit Shlomi. So, not a public school. And here we have the western end of Church Avenue. So we're turning east on Church Avenue, and we're heading away from the Borough Park neighborhood and more towards Kensington. This area right here is called Kensington. So here we have this, and so I won't okay. Whatever. Okay. So it says in Hebrew and English, Yeshiva B'nai Zion, or Yeshiva B'nai Zion. Well, here's a new little park. I guess we'll call it Stop Sign Park, or Stop Sign Ahead Park. Let's see, will we stop? Yes, I guess so. Reluctantly. So we have some clues to the diversity of this neighborhood. Just looking across the street, El Mirador, New Taco King, Bangla Bazaar. Let's get a look at the other side of the street, or from the other side of the street. Again, it seems to be a large Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian neighborhood.
Rohingya.
For some reason, I'm just attracted to this red sign across the street. So, the liquor store sign is in English. Abdullah Sweets Restaurant. Ooh. Okay. And sweets. I think we have to resist temptation. Keep going. So here we are at Church and McDonald Avenues, which, because this is a weekend, is the end of the line, or the beginning of the line for the F, and as it always is, the beginning of the line for the G. And here's some people arriving. Here's the sign telling about weekend construction and the F train not running between here and Coney Island. So, one more thing to point out. Let's just go back to the corner of Church and McDonald. Carnival Market. If you're in the neighborhood, definitely stop there. They have some unusual produce and cheeses and dried fruits. Check it out. Some good taco options here also. So come back, visit this intersection, get something to eat. It's sunset now, almost. So thanks for spending the last hour of the daylight with me. Okay. I decided I couldn't really end without giving you a little bit of a close-up of the food options here. So again, we're at the corner of Church and McDonald. Easily accessible on the F or G train, or the B35 bus, or the B67 or the B69. The Church Avenue bus seems to run every few minutes. So we have this, which looks interesting. I don't know what that name of the food after the ampersand is, but it's certainly an intriguing spelling. And then you have, well, this looks like a classic halal cart. And this Mexican truck, which I've eaten from several years ago. It was quite good. And again, Bangla Grocery, Thai restaurant. Let's just cross and look briefly at Carnival Market. Okay, you get the idea. So now we go from Carnival to Carvel. Huh. So, good to know. If you're ever at the Church Avenue station, there's a Carvel about 3 minutes away. All right. And with that little extra to explore the food options, this is infrared, and this has been and still is what you've been watching.